At a time when anyone with a cell phone can spread offensive views around the world with a click of a button, the notion that we can control the flow of information is obsolete.
Free social networking utilities like Facebook make it easy for like-minded individuals to share their thoughts, ideas, and feelings. But the online world's wild and free social interaction can sometimes become like a septic tank, breeding virulent hate speech.
I began this line of research about 3 years ago. I was looking at different strategies for incorporating Facebook and some of the social media sites into my curriculum, and I just happened to stumble upon some Facebook hate group pages.
When the owners of such pages are on a mission to discredit, displace, or simply disrespect President Obama and his family, the tactics tend to rely heavily on old racist stereotypes. So concludes a Baylor University study published in the Journal of New Media and Culture. Dr. Mia Moody is the study's author.
Well, I was really surprised because many of the images and stereotypes that I found on Facebook have not been seen in traditional media types for many, many decades. You know, you really don't see these images in magazines or on television shows. But some of those stereotypes include the blackface stereotypes. These would be African Americans considered to be animalistic or animals, particularly monkeys, apes. I found most stereotypes fit that category. Also, I found many sexist stereotypes and portrayals of Mrs. Obama, where they portrayed her as being masculine. Many of them said that she looks like a man or she looks like James Brown. They compared her to predominantly males, and they also portrayed her as the angry African-American woman, which is a dominant stereotype in the cultural narratives.
The Baylor study points to the essential role of the gatekeeper. Facebook pages simply provide a blank common shell. All content starts on a level playing field of respectability.
The gatekeepers in new media are very different because they are usually people who have not been educated, who don't understand what's appropriate or how you can delete or take away some of these messages and make the pages appropriate. Traditionally, gatekeepers would not allow these types of messages to pass through the filter.
But covert page owners are under no obligation to check facts. In social media, the only scrutiny comes from other users.
There were some pages out there that were political in nature, and those pages focused on the Obama administration, some of his programs, Obamacare, even political satire. That would be considered okay. But then there were those other pages that crossed the line and became racist in nature, and those were the pages that focused on characteristics of African Americans and compared them to apes and focused on their diets and that type of thing. On Facebook, you have some people who try to create pages that are political in nature, but then other people take over those pages and they become riddled with hate speech.
Facebook terms prohibit, quote, content that, in the sole judgment of the company, is objectionable or which restricts or inhibits any other person from using or enjoying the site, end quote. The terms also prohibit content that is, quote, derogatory, demeaning, malicious, defamatory, abusive, offensive, or hateful, end quote. But Dr. Moody's study shows, even with Facebook enforcement, hate groups are thriving.
I think hate groups are growing because, as I said before, it's really difficult to identify hate groups on Facebook. People are not turning them in or they're not complaining because they can't really tell if it's hate speech. That's the primary problem with it. And another thing I found that sometimes when these pages are deleted, a few minutes later or a few days later, a similar page will pop back up, but it'll have a different name. But it will still have some of the same members and some of the same messages.
Among social media, Facebook in particular has given a powerful platform to groups who use hatred and bullying to drive political or social agendas. A Facebook group or page can be created anonymously by anyone, anywhere.
Facebook is powerful because you have so many people who are on Facebook. Facebook is one of the most popular social networks, and you have people on there who are lonely, who don't have a social group of people that they hang out with. If they see that they can get attention or they can build friendships with people who are also a part of these groups, then they will actually become more involved. The other reason that we're concerned is if people are able to hide behind their profiles. You don't necessarily know who's disseminating these messages. They can create phony email addresses and they can set up accounts, and so you don't necessarily know who's disseminating these messages. And I think many of them have realized that this is a great way to attract younger members, to attract new members, people that they would not be able to attract normally, because there's a whole new platform out there that they can use to disseminate those messages.
As president of our country and commander-in-chief of our military, I accept that people are going to call me awful things every day. And I will always defend their right to do so.
For Tech News Daily, I'm Cherie Smith.